Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today, I am honored to be joined by Rabbi Moshe Kaufman of the KVH in New England. Thank you, Rabbi Kaufman. It's wonderful to have you here.
Wonderful to be here.
KVH is in New England. That's the Boston territory, right?
With a big city in New England. So.
Okay. So it's good to have you here at the Let's Talk Kashrus Studios all the way from Boston. And I'm very excited to talk today about summer camps. The summer is approaching. Many of our viewers are going to be sending their children to sleepaway camp. And typically when we talk kashrus and camps, we think of two things. We think about the camp kitchen, and we also think, or maybe we should think, which maybe people don't, is the camp canteen, which is usually a free-for-all based on our knowledge. But I'd like to hear your input because I know you've visited camps with a focus on the kashrus.
So again, like I said, wonderful to be here. You posed several questions. We'll break it down. Separating the camp kitchen and the camp canteen. We'll talk about canteens second, but I'll mention canteens are often independently operated businesses and for-profit businesses. Even if the camp is not, often the canteen is a completely independent business where the space is rented out to someone. Sometimes it can be an adult, sometimes a teenager and whatnot. The question is, even if a camp had oversight, what oversight do you have at the canteen? And the things we've seen, like challah stam items being sold at camp canteens, where no one would have dreamed of it, and no one thought to ask twice until someone caught it. We'll circle back to canteens. There are so many qualified kashrus professionals. Hopefully all of us are qualified. But there are so many qualified kashrus professionals that will give their time, free of charge, guidance for such things. You call them up and, whether it's a Metzias Shaila or directing them to a proper qualified Moira Hira, there are so many people that are willing to give their time. I can say last summer there are people who are part of it. I don't know if you want to talk about this committee that was formed.
Yeah, please talk about it.
When I brought up this question, and it generated a lot of buzz in the kashrus, groups and whatnot, and a lot of talk about it. And I have a dear friend I have to mention, Shaul Galler, who now works for Kosher out of Cincinnati. And at that point he was in Rhode Island. We worked very closely with Rhode Island Kosher as an affiliate. And we're talking to someone who gives his leiv and nefesh for kashrus, and things really bother him, someone who can't sleep at night when things go wrong. And he was also sending kids to camp, and this really bothered him. He's like, we have committees for this, committees for that. ACO, Association of Kosher Organizations, I'm sure many of your viewers are familiar with. He's like, a committee for kashrus at camps? And at some point, Rabbi Fishman, the executive director of Association of Kosher Organizations, reached out to me and asked me, do you want to be a co-director, I forget what the name was, for this new committee that we were forming? And I said, okay. I asked the question. I don't know if he realized that I was the one who prompted the question, but at the end of the day, I give credit to Shaul Galler, now in Cincinnati, for really pushing this through and following up with me this year. What are we doing more?
And what is this initiative looking to accomplish as far as camps are concerned?
So I got to be very honest with you. We're not pushing an agenda over here to get certified, to pay money. Last year, you had members of the committee, and Shalom Tendler from Star K is the co-director of this committee, chair of this committee, working hard to create a scenario to educate camp directors, managers, how they can put a kashrus plan in place that will cost them little to no money. No money to us. Last year, there were members who did audits who traveled, who took their time from their summers, from their families, outside of the regular work schedule.
Just to direct camps.
Didn't charge for mileage, travel, flight, whatever was involved, there was no charge whatsoever. I think we visited 12, maybe 15 camps altogether. I don't recall the exact number. We saw a lot of different things going on. There were camps that called us. Some that were in Florida, they weren't set up yet. It was a second half, it was a traveling camp. Can you guide us on how to set up a proper kashrus system? We did this to the best of our ability. I spent probably close to an hour on the phone just working with the girls. I think it was a traveling camp, or it's one of these camps that change places, and simply giving our time. And it's not we're looking for cover for this or whatnot. It's something we believe in. These are people who believe in this.
I think you brought up a good point. There are many traveling camps. There are many issues that come up as well. Not only with regard to what food they could buy, but basishin and salmon. There are other bishalakum and things like that come up. If a camp that's out there, very well-meaning camp, wants to reach out to you and your initiative for direction, for guidance, for a plan of action, how do they reach you?
So you could reach out to the committee camps at acokosher.org. I'm sure they'll be following on the podcast if they leave a comment or whatnot. I'm sure
We'll put them in touch with you.
Our contact information is there. Once someone reaches out to us, a committee member will reach out back to them to provide guidance. First, they'll just find out what are you doing, what's feasible, what's not. Obviously, someone comes and tells me that they want to use the same kitchen for 150 people, 200, 300 people on a daily basis, 3 meals a day, same kitchen for milchiks and fleishiks. I'm going to advise them it's really not a good plan of action. You know, you're traveling for a night, 2 nights, 3 nights, and you double wrap some food and put it in the microwave in the hotel room is one thing. When you start planning this as a regular, not that's b'diavad halacha, but we get into double wrapping and halacha. It's a separate conversation for kosher travelers. Do a podcast on that. But when you get into that, becomes the regular mahalach of servicing a commercial kitchen. It doesn't work. It's a b'diavad from a practical aspect. Something's going to go wrong.
I think the reason why this topic is such an important one is because so many of the topics that we discuss are negea to the individual consumer, and we give advice, and we're blessed to have, like you said, so many qualified, knowledgeable kashrus professionals sit in this chair and discuss various topics. The topic we're discussing today impacts literally tens of thousands, not a guzma, it's not an exaggeration, tens of thousands of Yiddish kinder, young to girls and bachrim. It's such a colossal obligation and responsibility, and that's why I'm happy that you came today, and that this initiative that you formed has gotten off the ground, and you have people like Rabbi Tendler, people who are so knowledgeable, so thorough, and as you said, I commend all of you for giving your time so selflessly without remuneration, just to raise the standard of kashrus in summer camps, and we're grateful to you for doing so. So, any final words before we wrap up?
Final words, I would say one of the things that came to me is that if you ask for if there's a kashrus plan in place, and the answer is, of course, we have a firm chef, or everyone's the mashgiach because the kitchen's a free-for-all, those are things you don't want to hear. So ensuring the camp has a valid plan of action, and I would point out something that we're looking to do, but it's being talked about, because I don't know if there's the bandwidth to certify every camp in the country. I know Satmar was working on such a thing, so kudos to them. I believe they have a certification, but it's a different environment because it's their camps. I don't know if the bandwidth is available and if people are going to shell out the money for it, but even one of the thoughts that we talked about, it's not final, it's still being talked about if it's appropriate or not, is to give a campus a certificate of acknowledgement that they have a valid kashrus plan. Not that we're certifying them, not that we're taking responsibility for Pas Yisrael, Chalav Yisrael, whatever else you want, but simply that that someone, a kashrus professional, has been there and said, yes, this camp has a kashrus plan in place, a valid kashrus plan. No charge.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah. Now, I did want to touch on it before we wrap up about canteens. Yeah. Take a moment and talk about the pitfalls are obvious, all the many things. If you don't have oversight, the products that are coming in, what level of kashrus are they? You mentioned chalav stam before. Could be a lot worse. There could be milchiks and fleishiks issues going on when you have pizza being warmed up on one side, hot dogs and steaks on the other side, and they're being served simultaneously.
Canteens are not what they used to be. Canteen used to get a bag of chips and a can of soda.
Exactly.
Maybe once a week they did pizza.
Right.
And then maybe fries. I mean, now canteens are full-blown kitchens.
Right.
Kids don't like this and that. They get burgers and fries, and some places steak at the canteen. It was mind-blowing, some of the canteens I saw. I hadn't been in a camp in many, many years.
Right.
They're independently operated. So even if you solve the problem and you have proper kashrus plan in place over there, and someone, you mentioned before, from chef ordering, who's checking in the product? So the hope is that it's not Tony or Alberto checking in the product. It's a from person checking in the product, because substitutions happen all the time. So we don't have time to go into every detail. We'll have to come back and do that. But even if you solve that problem on the camp level, on the kitchen level, what's happening on the canteen level? There are so many easy snack products. So you said milchiks and fleishiks, and is there proper separation in the canteen? These are independently owned and operated operations often.
Right.
So one of the things that we do is we do check the canteen, and we talk with the people. What I'm circling back to right now is someone says, "Hey, just come check, look around, whatever you want." I actually made it a point. I said, I'm not going to do that. I need to be invited by the chef, by the manager, to come do it. And so it's not a covered thing. just come look around. Is there a commitment to have a proper kashrus plan in place? So circling back to the canteen, there needs to be someone that if there is a problem, we can go to them and address it, and they need to be able to go to, I can't tell the canteen person anything. I can point out this issue, that issue, whatnot. But if there's not a commitment on the camp level, on the upper echelon of the camp level, to deal with it, the visit's worthless.
Right.
The solutions are worthless.
Have you? I'm just out of curiosity. Have you ever seen a canteen that is under a formal supervision?
No,
Does that exist?
I didn't see it. It's possible it exists.
But it's not a crazy idea, right? We're talking about we're talking about a restaurant operation that is operating nightly, serving food to thousands.
It's not looked at like that.
But maybe it should be.
When we talk about,
I'm not trying to be contentious or
this
create problems.
goes back to what the consumer expectation is, and hopefully over the years things change. This is not something that can change overnight. You talk about, I'm sure, I don't know if you've done it or not yet, or you should do it, kashrus on alcohol.
Sure, yeah.
These types of things. These are not things that change overnight.
Again, we're not, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We're not trying to eat into the profit of the canteen
Correct.
operator, whether they're independent or not. In some cases, they're operated by the camp, and it's a very, very profitable arm of the camp. The canteen is a profitable entity.
You ask me if they should have hashgacha. It's a personal belief. Yes, they should. Practically, is that something that's going to happen overnight when, the camp itself doesn't have formal hashgacha? And well, the canteen's different.
Right.
A lot of camps are also profitable businesses. Some are not. Some are nonprofits. There's
I
not a
think
one-size-fits-all.
And I think the reason why it evolved into the situation that it is today is precisely what you said. 30, 40 years ago, maybe it was popcorn, fruit roll-ups and Nutty Buddies. And today it's a whole different level. It's really a full-blown catering operation of milchiks and fleishiks.
Usually in a much smaller space.
And a much smaller space.
Yeah.
And usually being operated by teenagers and in that age group. So I think it's a very, very important topic to bring up.
Yep.
I'd love to follow up in a year from now.
So this is going into our second year. Last year was sort of a test year.
Right. I'd love
this
to
year,
hear. I'd love to hear what you see
We're
when
doing
you
this
go.
podcast. So I think this year will be very telling what comes out this year. Last year we was more low key. This year we intend to send letters to all the camp operators as we did last year. We were late in the game last year. Was kind of feeling the waters. This year, send a letter to the camp operators. This is what we did last year. We'd love to work with you. We're here to help. We're not here to take your money, take this, take that. We were very careful. We're not even. It's a very normal thing. We're not even charging for our time, but we're going to charge for expenses. And I think we were adamant as a group. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We want people to feel comfortable. We're not trying to get into their pockets, take money. Even if we're not really taking money, we didn't want it to appear that way. Mm-hmm. So anyone involved was very clear. If you're going to do it, don't expect to reimburse, not for your mileage, not for your gas, not for your rental car, not for your flight, whatever it was.
It's totally Shem Shemayim. Doing is wonderful. And
it helps that I enjoy it. So.
And I could tell that you have that passion for what you're doing, which is why one of the things that makes you good at what you do. So, Rabbi Kaufman, thank you for being here, for discussing this important topic, and we hope to discuss it again.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.